The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bitten by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there, and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is Andre Mayette, your podcast host. Big thanks to Ooh the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers. And big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again to another action-packed, fun-filled show. Today I talk with Linda Lessmann, a towering figure to me when it comes to colorists and comics. She had worked early on in Marvel Comics, worked on almost every single title they had done. If you look up her Marvel credits, there's an awful lot for pretty much everything under the sun, from Tomb of Dracula, Spider-Man, X-Men, Daredevil, all the stuff all the way down through. She worked on it all, and went on to work for First Comics. Had worked with Barry Windsor-Smith pretty closely, and also she mentions they were in a relationship for like a decade. And a lot of other things about an amazing life and career, and, you know, very sweet, very kind, empathetic woman who, I had a lovely conversation with. I really, really enjoyed it. Linda was lovely, and I'm super happy to have her on the show. We do mention early on in the show, we started the conversation basically by talking about what had happened to Charlie Kirk, who, obviously it's a big story right now, what's going on in the world. I don't know if I need to comment on it, if the opinion of a lowly podcaster out running a comic interview podcast out there is something that we all need to hear, that the world needs more of, unfettered, unasked for, unsolicited opinions. But hey, I'll give you mine. I don't like the guy, never did. I pretty much disagree with everything he had to say. But I don't believe that he should have been killed for it. Regardless of who you are, what your stupid opinion is, I don't think a bullet is deserving of words. And, having discourses, having conversations, that's all part of the human experience. That's how we hopefully all grow together and change, learn. Kirk never struck me as a guy with a lot of empathy. He would put out these videos of him, owning, in quotes, college students that, he would consider the far left, with a lot of talking points about the pre-prepared that he would bring. And, he'd never show you the footage of the students that agree, that had good arguments themselves. That stuff never made it to air. But that's just the nature of media, Obviously, if you're a host of something, you're going to post whatever makes you look in the best light. He certainly did that. Yeah. I mean, I guess the quote, he once was quoted as saying there has to be a level of acceptable losses in America when it comes to gun violence, and that's the price of freedom to have your gun and do what you want with it. I wonder if his opinion would change if he knew he would be one of those. But who knows? Regardless, it's a shame. It's a tragedy. He has a family. He has people that cared for him, and unfortunately they're without him now because of the actions of this person. I just think a lot of this stuff, this rhetoric, gets sort of used as talking points when things like this happen to, further the agenda of whatever person is using them as their talking point. I just think the irony of losing someone that's a super pro-gun advocate to gun violence is often lost on people on the right. But I don't think it should be now. I think perhaps, looking at that, it's a big thing right now. And often when this happens, I know a lot of people on social media spout off. I saw someone that I know say something along the lines of, so much for the tolerant left, which I find hilarious, because a gunman, a lunatic with a gun that kills someone because they don't like what they have to say, isn't representative of a political party or ideological leanings. They're an individual making their own decision. They don't represent everyone. There's an awful lot of violence happening in the world, and in the States specifically, by people that claim to be on the right. So, the Michigan shooter, all that stuff. Yeah, where do they fall? Is it the so much for the taller and right? It's dumb. It's really dumb, and I hate when people use tragedies to further their agendas, which people do a lot in the world. Seems more and more every day. But end of the day, regardless of whether you agree with him or not, which I certainly didn't, Kirk didn't deserve to die for, the stupid shit he talked about. So it's a shame. It's a tragedy, and I wish nothing but the best for his family in this trying time. Hope they're doing okay, and I hope they find a way to heal, and I truly do. So there it is. There you have it. There you have my unsolicited opinion. I mean, I know being a host of a show like this, an interview show, where I have conversations, get to know the people, as the figure that is talking to these people, you get insight into my life too, as I often talk about it with the guests, and my opinions and whatever. And so as a way, it's kind of a living history of me too, I guess, whether I intended that or not. So there you go. There you have it. But yes, so Linda and I do talk about a little bit at the beginning of the conversation. That is what we were discussing, and it's certainly a big story at the moment, and one that it's hard to avoid. So Linda and I get into it, and we have a lovely conversation. But all in all, I really love this conversation. Linda had a lot to. She kind of didn't know what to talk about. She said quite often, but she talked wonderfully about her history, about the life, the working for Marvel, working for First, and her experiences, and I deeply loved it. It was a great conversation. She's a very sweet woman, and I was very happy to have her on the show. So here it is, my conversation with the wonderful Linda Lessmann.
Well, how are you today?
I am
I
well. How
think
are
Bill
you?
has you. I think Bill has the same shirt.
Oh, really? Do you, Bill?
That's so funny. Yeah, well, we've been having quite a time here.
Oh, no problem.
Anyway, after what happened yesterday and the whole country is talking, it's
Mm-hmm.
been very disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a all you need is love kind of person, and
Yep.
hate speech doesn't just go in my house or in my life. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I'm not a fan of the guy, but I don't think he should have been shot. So,
Of course not.
yeah, it's
I don't justify violence of any kind.
no, ditto.
But oh boy, that's how that's how he lived. That's what he espoused. So, you know, that's the life he led.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I mean, I think the irony of people like him who, have a whole platform that they use to talk about how there should be more guns and less restrictions on guns and how they die by gun violence. It's
Exactly.
I feel like the people of in that camp really miss that. They'll use this as any kind of an excuse to go after opposing political parties, but they certainly seem to miss the irony of something like this occurring, and it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But I guess people like,
So,
yeah,
Excuse me, Andrew.
yes,
Are you hearing her notification sounds?
nope,
Okay, good.
nope, all
We
good.
should have turned them off.
all good. Well, I have no idea what you want to talk about, but
It's basically
carry
just,
on.
yeah, it's just
Pick
a
my
cash.
brain.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a casual conversation through, like, your life, like, what led you to everything that led you up till now. So it's I always describe it as if like you and I met at a party, just the conversation we'd have. So yeah, that's what it is. So where are you calling in from?
Well, oh, we live in Crystal Lake, Illinois,
Ah,
which is almost exactly 50 miles northwest of right in the middle of Chicago.
oh, okay, right on.
So lots of commuters
Mhm.
go from Crystal Lake. It's about an hour and 15 minutes on the train.
Oh, nice. Have you? Is that where home is? Like, where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Chicago. Belle
Okay,
was born in Chicago. Um, we moved to Des Plaines when I was, oh gosh, I think I was 4.
really?
Yeah, a long time. So, moved from Des Plaines to Barrington when I was 12. I grew up in Barrington, another northwest suburb. That's where I went to high school.
Mhm.
I went to college, Stevens College in Missouri. Graduated in 1970. So
What
I'm
was
I'm
the
kind of yeah.
what was the college course? What did you take in college?
Oh, art.
Art. Okay,
I
awesome.
I got my uh, I got my degree in art.
Wow.
You know, oh gosh, thinking way back then, it's kind of hard for me to remember.
Hmm.
But yeah, I looked for a job for the longest time in advertising. I kind of specialized in advertising rather than no, I was interested in advertising, but dragged I dragged my portfolio around Chicago, and I ended up working for Estee Lauder at Carson's in downtown Chicago because my mother was a traveling representative for 8 years, and she adored what she did. She always dressed beautifully, had her hair done, did her makeup.
Hmm.
Uh, she was a lovely woman, and she died, oh gosh, 13 years ago. In any case, I got married at the age of 23, and everything kind of changed. And when I went to New York, I again was dragging my portfolio all over town. Couldn't find a job. And once again, when my mother came to New York to visit Estee Lauder in the building, the company, oh my gosh, it was so gorgeous. But she went out to lunch with a bunch of her friends, and they asked me, "So, Linda, what are you doing now?" And I said, "Well, I kind of don't have a job." And instantly they offered me a job. And once again, I was working at B. Altman in their cosmetics department. And it was something that I was not matched for.
Mm.
And I wanted desperately to get the kind of job that I needed.
Mm.
So I asked everybody I knew to help me find a job. And it happened that a friend who was working for a clinic was dating an older guy. And she told him about me, and he had some ideas. So we went out to lunch, and he had a list of about like 7 people to call that might offer me a job in advertising or some kind of art.
Hmm.
And about third down the list was Stanley, believe it or not,
Wow.
whom this guy knew personally. Well, I hadn't seen a comic book in about, I don't know, 12 years,
Uh-huh.
and decided, oh, well, that sounds interesting. So there I was, dragging my heavy portfolio again, and uh, got to the address on Madison Avenue, walked into the building. It was extremely hot that day.
Mhm.
I got into the elevator, and this lovely young woman got in behind me and said, "Well, where are you going?" And I told them what floor. I don't remember now, but it happened that she was Stanley's daughter, Joan.
Oh, wow.
This is let me 1972.
Wow.
So I walked into the building. I was greeted. I thought this is the greatest place I've ever been to. There was music playing, lots of young people, but the office was really small. I was trying to tell people at Dragon Con, where we were last week, um, about this little office, maybe 12 people on staff. And they took a look at my portfolio and wanted me right away. I mean, I literally went to work that day in their production office. Um, Production is what I had done for several years as my summer job. I worked for a printing company,
Hmm.
which strangely enough is what my daughter does now. She's basically the art department.
Oh, wow.
Nothing goes to press without her okay. And Bill says she's way more talented than the two of us put together.
Well, I mean that would
At
make
any rate,
sense. She's got quite a genetic lineage to lean towards the artistic there and stuff. So, absolutely.
yeah, so I worked for Marvel for 2 years. I made many, many friends, and I still run into people that I've known for more than 50 years. This happened to me at Dragon Con when I ran into Steve Englehart, which
Oh
is
wow.
nice, the nicest guy. He's a writer, and we were friends for a long time, but I never dated him.
Mhm.
But I've run into so many people over the years that I've worked with, lost people that I loved so much.
Mm.
But it's been, a really interesting life having had that happen years ago. Because I wasn't looking for a job in comics,
Mm.
but that happened.
Yeah.
And I've had fabulous friends, talented friends, people, um, well, like Jim Starlin,
Mm.
who invented Thanos.
Oh, I'm a huge
And
fan of him. Huge fan. So it's a dream of mine to maybe talk to him someday. It hasn't happened yet, but I'd like to. He's always been high on my list. So from what I understand, he's a lovely person too. So
oh, yeah, I gave him a big hug. I happened to bump into him in the street in front of the hotel, and I was hoping to see him. I was hoping to meet a wonderful artist, Colleen Duran, whom I've known for years, kind of, well, on Facebook, for instance. But I was looking through comic book pages that I had colored. I'm selling all kinds of work at conventions, and I was putting together a folder of work that I've sold some of. I decided a couple of years ago that I wasn't going to send, sorry, sell random pages. I'm only selling stories, complete stories, books. Um, but I found a 5 pages that had Colleen Duran's name on it. And then I was the colorist, and I thought, that's just plain amazing. I had
yeah.
no idea we had worked together probably many, many years ago.
Wow.
I, well, I guess long story short is that while I was at Marvel, um, Barry Windsor-Smith came into my life. We worked together. We formed a company called Gorblimey Press, where we published paintings and drawings and portfolios, things that he made. He made art, and I did everything else.
Mm.
I was the office person. I packaged things. I put things together. I did, oh gosh, it's hard to think back now, it was so many years ago, but that company existed for 10 years. I think the main problem with that relationship is that I really wanted to get married and have children. He didn't.
Mm.
So in time we grew apart, and I went back home and went to live with my parents at the tender age of 36.
You sound like the consummate artist lifestyle. This is kind of how it goes, right? Well, like you mentioned that you hadn't seen a comic in quite a long time when you went to the Marvel office. Were you a fan as a child? Like, were you reading them when you were a little girl?
Oh gosh, I wish I had kept early issues of Fantastic Four and
Yeah.
the Hulk. And there were friends in my life that brought comic books to me. Now, I used to read Archie when I was like 13, 14, 15. I had a club, believe it or not. We
Mm.
would get together and talk about Archie and all of those characters. And well, when I was a child, of course, I read Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all those comics. I had a big selection of those old-timey comics.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, while I was at I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping around, but
No.
while I was at Marvel, um, after only a couple of months, Marie Severin came to me with kind of stack of these what we call the Veloxes, like photo prints
Hmm.
of comic book pages. And in those days, we had to put them in the bathtub and try to get the what I think of as varnish,
Hmm.
this solution that coated the pages. Otherwise, the Dr. Martin's dyes, which was what we used those days, would beat up, and it was really hard to do comic book coloring.
Mm.
I talked about this a lot at Dragon Con. This is my recent recollection.
Hmm.
And people start to kind of fall asleep as you're discussing this because it's a hard process to understand when you talk about photographic, um, gosh, what can I call it? Using photography to, what am I trying to say, Bill?
I'm a graphic designer by trade as well. So
Ah,
I'm familiar with the early process where you guys would have to do everything on the sheets, right? It was like the huge room with the big camera that would take the stuff and then put it on the polymer sheets. Is that kind of the process where you would do the plastic sheets and color on those and then put the art on top?
right. Well, I understand that comic books were separated.
Yes.
Rather than photographically, they were hand separated,
Oh wow.
where there
Okay.
has to you, yes, you had the coloring, you had the codes. Every color had a code.
Hmm.
We had the well, I showed the number, I think 64 colors you could use, and they all had to be labeled.
Wow.
So you had to know what code was, like green was BY, which was solid blue, solid yellow. And you had to get to know. Now, when I first started coloring, Marie would do all that, but eventually I learned
Uh-huh.
and I switched from being in the production office to being a colorist. And I did just about every book, not all of them,
Yeah, well,
but I
looking
had
at
a
what you've
great time.
done, there's a lot. So, like you like all the titles that you've done over the years. If you just look at like what Marvel has listed your credits as, there's a tons of books all across genres and stories. But that's like the coloring process was interesting to me, especially since you were there like early on when it was so laborious with all the various ways they had to do it. So, like
Right.
the 64 options for colors, like would Spider-Man have a specific red or would that be like just red? And
Yeah.
that's the red they okay, so he would have a specific
Oh,
shade of
yeah.
red.
You needed to know costume colors.
Mm,
Everything had to be the same thing,
wow.
all the costumes. But what I felt like my contribution really was um, that there was basic coloring
Mhm.
and nobody had highlights or shadows. And I thought I was, trying to work that out to know color codes and what went with what. And if you wanted to show a shadow or a highlight, you could do that, even with the oldie moldy techniques.
Mhm.
Um, but I also went a little further, at least I think this way. People have told me this too, that they noticed me because I also wanted color to convey mood. If somebody was angry, use a lot of red. Be serious about that. Don't look red like use red if you don't mean it.
Mm,
And some people laugh at that, but seriously, in dream sequences, you want to make that look different to make kind of move the story along
mm,
and help people understand what was going on.
yeah.
If somebody was sad, use a lot of blue. I used to want to talk to the artist or the inker, the people that, put the work together to get an idea of what they were thinking.
Wow.
The artists, drew in black and white,
Hmm.
which is totally different from the way we all live. And I thought, are they thinking about the coloring? Do they want certain things to be certain colors? So I made it a point to track down the person and talk to them and see what they were thinking. Some of them absolutely didn't care.
Hmm.
Some of them were very interested. For instance, when I went to work for First Comics and met Bill all those years ago, he was very interested in certain things being certain colors.
Yeah.
And months before we even met, he was calling me every day with suggestions.
Well, it's
But
it's
as I
interesting to me
say,
that so many of them didn't care. Like you mentioned that some people didn't,
I
because like
know.
as an artist, and anybody that does art stuff, I find it hard to I would find it hard to let it go and let someone else take it and just say it's theirs right now. So the idea that you would just be like, yeah, whatever, like you'd be just so dispassionate about it, I couldn't imagine. So kudos to you for like going out of your way to speak with the artists and see that, because I'd imagine in their head they would have something they would see the color being, and instead of them just being upset if the end result is not what they wanted, to have it seems like it makes perfect sense that they talk to the colorist and find exactly what they had in mind.
Well, I thought so too.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to me um, that was so that there were some artists, when their work was done, on to the next thing. They didn't
Mm.
think about it. They didn't care about it, apparently.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I thought at the time, the more you contribute to a project, the more you think about the project, the more it means to you, the better the end result is going to be.
Yeah,
That's what I
absolutely.
thought. So, even though I'm basically retired now, I still get commissions.
Hmm.
Um, it's very interesting to see how much things have changed. For
Mm.
instance, when everything started going to computers, and for instance, Bill taught himself how to do computer coloring. I couldn't do that.
Mm.
Now, I met at Dragon Con an old friend, Paul Mounts, who is a wonderful colorist who knows everything about that, and had started to teach me. And it was about that time that I kind of sort of moved on.
Mm.
And I was raising my children and really not doing all that much coloring anymore. Um, I don't know what to tell you. It was something I loved, something I think other people enjoyed. I met so many great people over the years, even though, well, it's been many years since I haven't been a colorist. Um, one thing, let's see, one thing that made a lot, made me happy,
Mm.
made me glad was that I liked Stan. I got to know Stan. My children got to meet him. Thank
Mm.
you, Danny Finger Up. Um, there were so many times that I just plain ran into him at conventions and other places. And I was grateful. I'm seriously grateful that we had a relationship and that I made so many friends at Marvel. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
Does
great.
that
This
answer
is
your
this is
question?
this is super great. No, this is wonderful. Like someone like yourself that's been involved, early on, like as you mentioned in the '70s, joining in with Marvel. You obviously were there at the ground floor of a lot of crazy changes in the industry, right? Like when Lee was sort of bringing
Yes.
Lee and Kirby and all them were bringing out these. And I often
Oh
talk to
yeah.
people when I'm talking to them on the show about how I sort of uh what's the word when you sort of like look back, or you think like that, how cool it must have been to be around so many creatives.
Reminiscences.
Yeah, but like I would not glorify, but like when you look back on like a time period that you weren't a part of, but you just think like, you imagine all these people sitting at desks making this stuff that's so big to people like myself over the years growing up, and how I find it interesting about the folks like the cohesion of art and like business. So like working in an industry like comics is such a like where those two really crash into each other. And coming from graphic design and in the design world like you were at the time, that's obviously all commercial art. It's all designed to be done in a commercial
Well,
sphere.
I took every course pertaining to commercial art.
Mm,
That's, that was my plan. That was where I was going.
mm,
And I was really lucky um, to have friends in the business. One of my parents' friends had a studio in Chicago where periodically I would fill in when people went on vacation, and I worked in his studio. It was in Park Ridge.
mm,
That's also in Illinois, but
mm,
closer to Chicago. Um, I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot at Stevens College, but quite frankly, working at the printing company where I went from just, summer help into the art studio and started putting together things that they were printing, like catalogs, things like that. Um, I learned a lot during 3 summers while I was in college.
mm.
So it all, eventually it kind of all came together because I had skills that I found out that I needed later on. And, it's just so interesting to me to see what happened next and what led me in different directions. And,
Mm.
ultimately, when I came back to Chicago, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I was still looking at advertising. I was still um, applying for jobs in places other than comics.
Mm.
But here's the funny thing. My best friend from high school got married in November of 84. And I was living with my parents, and I desperately wanted to go to Dallas, where she lived. And she wanted me to be in her wedding. So I said, Mom, please, for Christmas, my birthday, Easter, everything, please, please, please get me a plane ticket. And they did.
Yeah.
So I went to my friend Debbie's wedding. And when the party afterwards, the reception, I went out on the roof and I met with a fellow named Louis Shiner, who at that time was her husband's best friend. Nobody knows where he is now. I just saw her recently.
Mm.
Um, at any rate, he said, Well, what are you doing now? And again, I said, Well, I'm sort of between jobs. And he
Mm.
said, Oh, well, you have to call Mike Gold. He works at First Comic. I said, Wait, who, what? And I said, What's First Comics? He said, Oh, they're in Chicago. I said, You've got to be kidding me. I didn't know there was a comic book publisher in Chicago. So the very next day, I got home on a Sunday. Monday morning, I got the number and I called him up and asked for an interview. And it turned out that there were people there who were fans of mine.
What?
I
Amazing.
didn't have any of my work with it was all in storage, but they had heard of me. They had known my work. And again, I was offered a job immediately.
Wow.
So I didn't work on Bill's comic book, Badger, right away.
Mhm.
I did lettering and I practiced for 4 days, comic book lettering. I'd done it before, but not in a long time. So I thought,
Mm.
okay, I'm getting ready for this. I did 2 books, and then Rick Taylor, who was coloring Badger at the time. He moved on to other things. And so I was working on Bill's book, The Badger, but I didn't meet Bill for 9 months, no, 5 months. And then I happened to run into him at First Comics. And it was just, it's just funny how that worked. We were friends for, a long time
Mm.
because I was dating other people.
Mhm.
So it happened that, oh my gosh, I guess it was just under 2 years when we actually started dating. And I knew things were getting better because he started introducing me as his girlfriend and not just his colorist. So, we ended up getting married and we have two grown-up children
Mhm.
who live with us now. The economy is pretty horrible.
Mhm.
So everybody works together.
Mm.
At any rate, I'm basically a happy person. My son is an amazing drummer. His band Lever plays everywhere,
Well.
and they're working on their next album, which should be done soon. At any rate, as I mentioned before, my daughter works for a printing company. She is the art department. She solves problems, and she's beautiful. Unfortunately, divorced.
Mm.
It's just something I just don't want to go into. It's a sad,
No.
sad
No.
thing. But anyway, um, I'm a happy person.
Yeah. Good.
And Bill and I have been married 38 years now.
Wow.
Are you that old?
Time flies, man. I tell you, my wife and I have been together for, well, we just had our ninth wedding anniversary, but we got married 9 years after we started dating.
Oh,
so it's been 18 years total. We lived together 3 months
uh-huh.
after we started going out. So we've
Oh,
been essentially married for almost 18 years. So it's kind of wild. Like you think about time and you're like, has that much time gone by? Is that where we are now? And I just turned 40 this year, so I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it's chugging along. But
oh my gosh, 40. I
yeah,
remember it well.
yes, yeah. Well, that's so
My
cool.
husband
Hmm.
threw a surprise party
Hmm. Oh,
for
really?
me.
Nice.
I we went out to dinner and his sister Lori was babysitting. Our daughter was 6 months old. So I'm kind of a late bloomer in the
Hmm.
parenting department. I was 43 when my son was born.
Wow.
So, it's that situation. But back when I turned 40, we went to a lovely French restaurant. We got home around 8 o'clock, walked upstairs, threw open the door, and from behind curtains, chairs, other rooms, poof, 40 people in
Wow.
my house. What? Anyway, and there are films of that, of me going,
I wonder historically how many people have like suffered heart attacks from like surprise parties. If you look at the
that's
list of,
exactly what I was
yeah,
thinking.
like I wonder like what the stats are compared to how many parties versus how many like people had severe medical problems because of them.
Oh man.
That's amazing. Well, early on when you were beginning working in like comics, like were there a lot of other women in like in with the Bullpen and Marblehead?
No,
I wouldn't say. That's what I was. It must have been
no.
a bit of an anomaly.
Well, I got to sit next to Marie Severin. What an amazing, just unbelievable woman she was. She was about the funniest person I ever met.
Hmm.
She was always cracking jokes. She was always doing funny comics.
Mm.
Like if something happened, she would draw a little cartoon about it. Um, I learned a lot from her, but at that time, Glynis Wein was her name then. Glynis Oliver became her name. I learned a lot from her
Hmm.
and Marie, but there were very few women in comics at the time. And I'm pleased to say there are many, many more now.
Mm.
But at that time it was a rare thing, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'd spoken with I'm not sure how much you guys had interaction, but I saw you worked on some of the Barbie comics for Marvel back in the day.
I did. I
Yeah,
loved it. Oh
because
my
I
gosh.
had spoken with Barbara
Marvel,
Slade on the show before, so that's why I wanted to see if there's a connection there, because she had written some of those as well.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Could you
Bar
repeat the name?
oh, Barbara Slate.
Right. No, I don't know
Oh,
her.
okay. Must have been a different time when she was on the book.
Well, I was so happy to do Barbie comics, and it was when Marvel went through their change where they no longer paid to, um, oh gosh, what can I call that? They couldn't use other characters from other sources, only
Right.
Marvel artists, only Marvel characters. They weren't in a position to pay for the rights for other comic book characters.
Hmm.
So they lost Barbie and Barbie fashion. But at the time, I so loved that work. I mean, I used to say at the time it was the best thing I ever did. And I really loved it. I would have stayed there forever
Mm.
if that was available to do,
Yeah.
but it
Well, it
was
must have been a
not.
colorist dream because it's so bright, right? Like so many bright colors in a book like that. It must have been sort of a lot of fun and the color side
It's
of
a
things.
lot more different than Grimjack, the first comic. And there were different artists that I worked with. And John Ostrander, whom I've not seen in many years, was
Wow.
um, just a great guy and such a talented guy. And I know he's still around somewhere out east. Um, but yeah, I did a lot of different things in those
Hmm.
days. And Barbie, Barbie coloring, oh my gosh, so fun.
I would imagine. Yeah. Well, like I don't need to go through every single thing, every comic you worked on, everybody you worked with, because we'd be here for a long time. But I noticed you worked on like a lot of horror books as well, like on Dracula and Man Thing and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Man Thing, I did four books. I worked with Mike Plug, who became a friend, and then I never saw him again. I saw him last when I lived in California. Oh my God, so long ago.
Did you talk with like Gerber, like the writer? Do you have a connection with him, Steve Gerber? No?
I knew him.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really nice guy, very talented. He was a good friend. Missed him a lot.
Mm,
That it's hard when friend when friends are gone,
yeah.
you know. I guess maybe I should talk about the studio, speaking of that, because we lost Jeff Jones and Bernie Wrightson. And,
Hmm.
um, I was at the studio. Somebody asked me the other day about being there and
Hmm.
how was that and what did you think? And I said, well, I was the fifth Beatle because I was there. I mean, these were all my friends and we worked together constantly.
Hmm.
But I mean, I'm in the studio book, which people talk to me about pretty frequently.
Really, that comes up a lot?
Not a lot, but it's funny that it still does,
Mm,
that people want to know about what it was like there working with these fabulously talented people. Mike Kaluta, I haven't seen him in forever, and I occasionally Barry writes me, sends me articles, and
no,
that's
that's
nice,
lovely.
but I have not spoken with him in a long time. I write him letters, he doesn't write back.
No,
What are you gonna do?
reclusive artist type, I guess. Um, well, yeah, that's amazing because I did want to get to that eventually, so I'm glad we kind of got there because that like you're right. Like I think about there's a documentary that came out a few years ago called was it like 15 Feet from Stardom or something. It was about this lady that's been like the backup singer for almost every major band. in the world.
Oh,
And like,
really?
yeah, and I feel like the Rolling Stones and a bunch of other stuff too, but she's been involved with all these massive things and never really had her own platform. It was always kind of part of other people. So it was interesting to me to be like, you talk about the Fifth Beatle reference. So when you're like a fly in the wall, you're there working with these people, especially people that have like such huge contributions to comics over the years.
Absolutely.
Like Wrightson to me is like you'll never find a better horror person. There's so many people out there that still do unique work in the horror field. Kelly Jones, people like that I think are really cool. But Wrightson
Yeah.
was like the first one that like really kind of captured that sort of horror aesthetic in such a cool way. And especially like at a time period where you had to kind of skirt around it a little bit with the comics code and stuff and couldn't be as sort of extreme as
Yeah.
you want it to be.
Mm,
So as well as Barry Windsor-Smith is a legend as well, and I mean all those the four people you mentioned are.
yeah.
So it's insane. I know he had just recently they put out like a book that he'd been working on for decades. It's a monster, I think it was called. It came out a
I
few.
tried to read it.
Yeah, I have
I
it, but I haven't
I
got to it yet.
have it, but I'm one of those weirdos who can't stand violence.
Uh,
I I can't even watch Marvel movies.
mhm.
People are punching each other. No, that's not entertainment to me. The last I saw gosh, before we even moved here, I saw this movie with my husband, Die Hard 2. Bruce
Yeah,
Willis was
yeah,
in
yeah,
that,
yeah, yep.
and I spent half the time crying as there
Really.
were explosions and people dying, people getting murdered. That's not entertainment to me.
Hmm.
Sorry. So I have a really hard time with that. And I kind of decided when I want to say the road less traveled, when I saw the road ahead
Hmm.
becoming shorter than the road behind, I thought, I don't want to spend my time watching upsetting things. I don't
Hmm.
want violence in my life. Why should I invite it? Why should I want to see it?
Hmm.
So that's pretty much my attitude. And when I started to see monsters, I mean, I looked all through it. The artwork is plain amazing,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
but I couldn't read it. It was too much for me.
Hmm.
So I have the book. I've enjoyed the artwork I've seen, but I'm sorry I couldn't read it.
Did you always have that sort of trepidation about violence in work? Because like working in comics and horror comics, I imagine there was, a significant amount of sort of stuff you would be coming across you'd have to color that wouldn't be agreeable. Or something about like comics or the old style of comics when they were a little less visceral, I suppose. Made it easier to
Well,
work with.
back in the day, you talked about the comics code,
Well, just
and
like if you don't like if you always did you always have this sort of uh dislike of violence in media because if so, like comics have a lot of it. But
but
like,
these are drawings.
yeah, so drawings are fine.
These
That's
are
what I meant.
drawings.
Like, okay, so,
It's a step away from reality for
hmm.
me, where you can enjoy the art, appreciate the art, find good
Hmm.
things and bad things about the art. Um, but I think there was only one book when I worked for First Comics that I refused, and that was a guy getting shot in the back
Hmm.
in Grimjack.
Oh yeah.
And I remember talking to John Ostrander about it. I said, I'm sorry. I I I don't believe in that. I can't do this. Please
Hmm.
forgive me. And he did. And that was the last thing. Um, there's a lot going on in comics uh, that wasn't going on in those days. I mean, it's really amazing the things that people do.
Hmm.
Um, New artists, most of them I don't even know.
Hmm.
You know, what I enjoy about conventions is that a lot of people want to know about things I've done, and they look at it, but they'll come back. I can't tell you how many times this happened. Somebody comes by and goes, "Look at that. I had that. You colored that? Oh my God, that was my favorite comic book. And things like that, and just so much appreciation
Mm,
and feeling, believe it or not, I'm feeling so much love in the room.
mm.
Lots of different artists. I walk from one end to the other and try to see all the work. And it's just an amazing selection, different artists, different works, people from all over the world. I'm continually amazed by what I see. The creativity is just so potent.
I
And,
feel I always felt like art
yeah.
kind of fills your soul in a way. Like I don't know if I believe in
Oh,
the
for
soul per se,
sure.
I guess I can't figure out a way to describe it more than that, even if you believe in the soul or not. But there's something about being around artists, being surrounded by art, beautiful art, especially in comics. And maybe it's because it's like a community because you're all into or involved with making this thing you all love kind of together. But just being around, like just going to conventions and being in an artist alley where there's all these people that, that whose work you love and you can see them drawing or look at the original art pieces. There's something, I don't know, it fills you
Yeah.
up in a way that it's hard to describe to someone who's not into that world, I guess. So I totally hear where you're coming from. I mean, and imagine being in
Well, I
comics.
totally understand.
Yeah. And growing up with that myself, but then like hearing, people like yourself that have been in the industry and are still filled up by it. It's very nice to hear.
Uh, Here's the thing. I kind of think of myself like a modern day Mr. Rogers.
Hmm.
I saw this amazing guy. My children watched him on TV. He was a great appreciator.
Hmm.
He found all kinds of ordinary stuff that he could tell you about, and then you could appreciate the people, the object, whatever he was talking about in a different way,
Mm.
see things in a different way. And well, I'd like to think about myself as kind of like that,
Mm.
that you find things to appreciate, to find more reasons to want to understand what's going on here, who's uh, who's doing this, what are they saying, how does that affect me? You know, what I've learned after all these years is that there's a lot that we kind of put aside because we're busy with this and we're busy with that. And having become older now, I see and understand things that I didn't see before.
Mm.
For the last couple of years, I've been thinking things come into my brain that I haven't thought of in years, like students from sixth grade, or music, or song titles, movies, all kinds of things. Suddenly, oh, I haven't thought about that in a long time. I wonder how he's doing. Or, hey, I'd like to see that movie again. All these different thoughts. And I bought a book so that I can write all this down.
Yeah.
But I guess that doesn't apply exactly to comic books. But having been at this 5-day big deal convention, it's kind of come into my reality, my um, immediacy, thinking about people and places and things that I haven't thought about in a long time. It's been
Mm.
very interesting. It's kind of awakened my consciousness in a way that ordinary everyday life kind of doesn't do.
Hmm.
So I've been talking a lot to different people, about this. And some people know exactly what I'm talking about all these random things occurring to me. And some people just don't.
Mm.
So, that's fine.
Well, I think it's related to like I describe there's like intelligence, book intelligence or intelligence of solving problems, but I think there's an emotional intelligence too. where you have like as you get older,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's like a part of your like wisdom in essence, the parts of your brain that sort of get more introspective and think about things. I just read a book.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I just read a book recently. I volunteer running a book club at a women's prison in my local area. So we met recently, and I we got a new book. So we're talking about the previous book, then we got the new one, and I had a chance to read the new one. And it's about this guy um, who lived. It's a true story about this guy who lived in Maine. He just like drove out into the woods in like '86, left his car, and just lived in a tent in the woods for 27 years
I
by
read
himself.
that.
Did you read the book?
I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're talking about. No, I didn't read the book,
the
but
book's excellent.
I read about this story, and he
Yeah,
lived in a tent and he stayed up all night because he didn't want to light a fire
exactly.
because he
Yep,
didn't want to be seen.
yep, that's
But
him.
he didn't grow a beard and he kept his clothes nice
Yep,
because he went walking all the time and occasionally he'd run into somebody.
yep,
And I think the way they discovered that he was there was that he would break into
yep,
cabins, summer
yep.
cabins,
Yeah, that's exactly
and
right.
find food.
He would forage, yeah.
And that's how he stayed alive.
And but he
Yeah,
was never like he never took more than he needed. He never damaged the place. He just would he
exactly.
was very respectful. He didn't like that he had to do that to survive. But there's something about
Yeah.
him that he just didn't like being around people, and this is the way he figured out to live without needing it. But they say he's been essentially, without a few rare instances. There was like one time he passed a hiker, and they said hi to each other, and one time he waved at some people from a distance because they spotted him. That he interacted with humans in like 27 years. And the I highly suggest the book. It's called The Stranger in the Woods. But because the guy, when he found out about this, he went
Oh,
he went and interviewed him when he was in prison um, for the 7 months he was in jail, and then a little bit after he got out. But about what that was, and they kind of go through the history of like hermits and the history of being alone, like people that
yeah.
have the religious people that have stayed away from other people because they think it gives you kind of wisdom in medieval times. Like, and they kind of go through all this, and they talk about um, how our world is sort of designed in a way we're not alone very much anymore. And there's parts of your brain that don't activate when you're not alone. And if you are in, like, he describes the life he had as being like very peaceful, very calm. He was never bored. He always like would think of things and stories, and he would read a lot, like books that he would take from the cabins he broke into.
Right.
And it was such a it made me appreciate quiet more, which is I'm a busy guy and I don't I like being busy, but
Yeah.
I also often wish I had more time. So it made me more appreciate the need to have time to yourself to be alone. And also like he talks about nature and there's all these studies that show even just being alone in nature for like 10 minutes can reduce your stress levels by like 70%. So there's like stuff there that was amazing to me, and it just made me it sort of opened up my mind to like new perspectives and like this guy's reasoning for doing this isn't quite like I like people. I'm definitely an extrovert, but the idea about what he did and this odd peace, meditative peace he found for 27 years living by himself, it just sort of like opened up this idea to me that like maybe there's something to be said about looking into different ways of living your life than just the way you're used to because you've always done it that way.
Well, interestingly enough, excuse me, my my great grandfather built a cabin in 1941 in northern Michigan,
Mhm.
which has come down to me.
Oh.
It needs a new roof in the worst way, but it's on Lake Autrain, um, about a mile and a quarter from Lake Superior. Lake Autrain is about 2 miles wide. It's a little lake.
Mhm.
Um, but I've been going there my entire life. My great grandparents stayed there from May to October. We've been up there many times in October, and I can tell you that walks in the woods are very therapeutic.
Mm.
Just, in the summer, having the windows open and listening to the trees and sitting at the dining room table, which is the kitchen table. It's a small place. And just looking out the window at the lake and the trees, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Mm.
I'd like more people to enjoy this because the family, it's not that big, and we could sure use more people enjoying this. I would like to share it.
Mm.
So we'll think of something.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean about um, wanting to be alone, but not feeling alone. Just enjoying, the sounds of nature.
Hmm.
This is something that came to me, oh, probably a dozen years ago, when I went into a trance one day. I know that sounds crazy, but I I was imagining myself flying around the trees across the street from my house and hearing birds singing, hearing the wind in the trees. Um, all the sounds of nature was like music.
Mm.
And I sat there in tears, and then I kind of came back. You know what I mean? It was just one of every once in a great while this happens to me.
Hmm.
Um, I don't claim to be psychic, but
Mm.
some strange things like this have happened to me. I've heard words where no one is there,
Mm.
but that's a whole different subject, isn't it?
Not necessarily, but like I feel like there's you seem like an empathetic person to me, which generally like people that are
Yeah,
empathetic, they're empaths, I guess would be a way to describe them. Because I kind of feel like I'm a little
yeah,
that way too. If someone around you is upset or sad or happy, it's kind of infectious to you. You
uh,
sort of do it, you become that as well. Um, so I feel
yeah.
like
I'm
there's
very much
this,
that person.
yeah, yeah, I get that vibe from you for sure. And it might be, it takes one to know one, but for sure, because
Ah,
I very much have a similar kind of quality to me as well. So, but yeah, like if you're open to that sort of stuff, like you're constantly empathetic, you're constantly sort of connecting with other people, even if you mean to or not. I feel like it just leaves you wide
yeah,
open for a bit of everything, right? And that stuff like that comes and goes.
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely that person, and it's difficult sometimes um having those feelings.
Mm,
So, I don't know what more to say about that. Either you are or you're not.
mm,
And perhaps I should mention that I joined a prayer group
mm,
35 years ago, and the people have come and people have gone. But the woman who started it, she's French.
mm,
Her name is Laurence, and she's become such a close friend in all these years when we've been together. And occasionally we get a big group together and we talk about things and we pray together, and it's very meaningful. And it's like, you go home after that and you feel like you've been renewed,
mm. That's
and
lovely.
as I say, the room filled with love, that people who genuinely care about you. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I've come to a place in my life where sorry, I'm gonna have
No, go
some
right ahead. No
soda.
problem at all. Very important.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say that, I mentioned before the road ahead
Hmm.
becoming shorter than the road behind. Well, I went through what I can only call depression.
Hmm.
I was diagnosed. Um, it's like the last week of summer last year, and it's taken me time to get over that. So again, I realized that I did not want to spend whatever time I have left with people who bring me down.
Hmm.
Sorry, but there are people in my life who have been so disappointing,
Mm.
who have not seen in me what I intended.
Mhm.
It's hard to describe, but there are family members who have unfriended me,
Mhm.
which I think is amazing because what did I do?
Mhm.
But they have their reasons, and some people see things differently. And even though I apologized at great length for a mistake I made innocently,
Mhm.
I didn't mean to say something that they objected to. It happened, and and I was rejected.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a time in my life where I have to say, I'm sorry, but I don't need you in my life. I want to be with people who genuinely care about me.
Mhm.
And that's just how it is. And when I had surgery at the end of April, over 300 people wrote me nice things.
No.
And the fact of the matter is, Bill had posted that. When I felt better, I posted that. I'm still recovering.
Mhm.
And, little bit by little bit, I've gotten back to doing things that I always enjoyed. But it's been a hard road, I will admit that. So the fact of the matter is that when when I heard from you, I thought it was just plain amazing that there you were out there, wanting to talk to me, appreciating what I did.
Mhm.
Um, this is not something that happens to everybody,
No, yeah.
or very often. So um, I appreciate everything you said, and that you wanted to talk to me
Oh,
and share my wisdom, so to
oh.
speak. You know,
Absolutely. It's an
I
honor.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely an honor. I mean, you're like I know I would have been one of those people that walked by your booth and been like, this comic is like, one of my favorite comics, or this work is some of my favorites. So I think it's important to get to get the voices of artists like yourself that are out there creating that stuff that we love, and finding out who they are behind that, right? So
Mhm.
and I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity. So thank you.
Oh gosh, well, thank you,
Well, no, I don't want to take any more of your time. I just really appreciate the opportunity, and wanted to thank you again, Linda. Thank you.
Andre. This is um, this is amazing, and I'm so happy to get to know you. You're my kind of person.
Ditto.
And Nova Scotia, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody from there.
Well, you know me now.
Well, well, I've been to Canada, Toronto, um, gosh, out west. I've
Vancouver.
I've been to Canada, oh, maybe a dozen times.
Hmm.
It's so clean. I met so many nice people. I love Canada.
No, well,
So, yay.
thank you. If you ever find yourself on the East Coast in Nova Scotia, let me know. I'll be happy to show you around.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I'll talk to you another time, and thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you, and have a great day.
And you as well. Bye now.
Bye bye. Having my conversation with Linda Lessmann. What a great chat with a great lady. I must say that conversation was really, really fun for me because, I have rudimentary knowledge of coloring and the complicated process they had to go through in the past. But hearing her talk about, the 64 colors they had, and how they had specific colors for specific heroes, and how they had to make sure that those ones were very stringently used. There's no room for error when it came to that sort of stuff. It's crazy. It's kind of mind-boggling. Like with how easy things are nowadays, thanks to technology. The idea that you have grab that color, use that color for Wolverine's yellow. That's the only one you can use, and there's only 64 in total to use in the whole book. It's so limiting, but just a testament to how genius artists like Linda and others of her ilk in that time period were to be able to
create these beautiful tapestries using only those 64 colors. So let that be a lesson to you that there are no limits to what you can do, just limits to your imagination. And people like Linda didn't have those and created these lovely, lovely stories. So thank you, Linda, for being on the show. I hope you're listening. Thank you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again to another episode. Be back next week for even more Graphic Histories podcast. We'll be here with another guest, and it's going to be a rollicking good time. I don't know where that word came from, but rollicking has been on the edge of my tongue all day, so you're getting it right now. But in the meantime, stay safe, have fun, read some comics, go into the woods, as I talked with Linda about the gentleman from the book Stranger in the Woods. Get out there, spend a little time in the woods. It can do a whole world of good, especially when it comes to stress. This program is a proud part of the Swear to Pod Network.